Good morning, class 6. How are you guys doing? I hope you all are doing great, fine, and taking care of yourselves. And wish you all a great Navratra week and of 9 days. And may Goddess Durga bless you all, not only for these 9 days, but for the 900 or 9,000 years to come for you all. And bless your family, you and everyone in and around you, your society, everybody, and take care of yourselves. And you have a wonderful puja ahead which is coming after 9 days. I guess I'm wishing you after 2 3 days. So, and as usual, please do take care of yourselves. Don't go out too much right now because it's still not safe, and because this is the time when things are going to take a wrong action. Where it's going to affect you. We don't know actually what's going to happen outside right now. So this is an after effect. So be very careful, take care of yourselves, and be safe. We are on SSC page 56, life in the villages and towns during that period, during the kingdoms period of the Ashoka and the Mauryans, and how did people live around, and during Buddha and all, how was things happening during that era. Life in villages and towns. So we'll start. The establishment of kingdoms and the empires led to an increase in agriculture and trade. Internal and overseas trade routes opened up. This period also saw the development of numerous arts and crafts. These developments resulted in the growth of towns. First I'll read, then I'll explain part by part. Greater agricultural production increased due to an increased of use of iron tools. It became possible to produce more and more from the same land. Also, more land was brought under cultivation. Iron tools such as the axe helped in clearing forests. This land was then used to produce crops. Certain regions where the soil was hard needed deep plowing. The iron plowshare made it possible to produce more from such types of soils. The kings of the period also encouraged the building of irrigation works and dug wells, tanks, and canals. Consequently, first in North India and then in the South, there was a tremendous increase in the production of crops. Growth of crafts. Now, arts and crafts also flourished. Each village had potters, weavers, dyers, metal workers, carpenters, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, garland makers, basket makers, and other craftsmen. Later, when towns developed, some craftsmen migrated to the towns. Cloth making, silk weaving, and dye become popular. Coin minting, ivory carving, and bead making were other popular occupations. Bead making industry was concentrated in South India. Varanasi and Madurai were important centers of cloth manufacturing. Udaipur was a famous center for dyeing. Now, increase in trade. Now, what happened during that time was agriculture came into this thing. When iron tools started coming after suddenly the developing and the evolution of people and becoming more and more into agriculture, the plowshare, the lands which were not being able to dug up with the wood plowshare, the hull which you say, it was of iron, so it would dig in deep and they could get more production, and the land was used for multi-purpose crops. And kings and during that period also helped out in irrigation. They built wells, they built canals, they built tanks so that the water supply was there, and this started happening. People started growing other occupations also. Crafts also came in, such as dyers. What are dyers? The bandhanis, the colors which they do on the cloths. Then they had potters for pots and all, weavers for making cloth, carpenters, the lohars which you call as blacksmiths, goldsmiths which we have, gold, garland makers, all these flowers, garland makers, basket makers, baskets, and other craftsmen. Later, the towns when developed, craftsmen moved to the towns. So business was flourishing from one place to another. But mainly cloth dyeing was a huge, silk weaving and cloth making was a huge popular thing during the British. Also, the British came into India because of this also as well, for spices and this. Coin minting. Coin was also minted. Ivory carving, making designs on ivory. Ivory was mostly on the stone, and ivory was from tusks also, elephant tusks, and bead making were very popular occupation, But bead making industry went down towards the south. Varanasi and Madurai were important centers for cloth making, and Udaipur was famous for dyeing, means coloring of the cloth. Increase in trade. As a result of increased agriculture production and the growth of crafts, there was a lot of surplus villages supplied these goods to towns. These goods were either used by the townsmen or they were sent to other regions. This led to trade. Business started. Merchants and traders participated in both internal and external trade. Trade links developed between the north and the south. India also traded with the Roman Empire. The greater use of money gave a boost of trade. Archaeologists have unearthed thousands of coins belonging to this period. They are called punched mark coins. Find out why are they so called. How was the trade carried out before the invention of money? Punched mark coins. They were on punched marks. They were punched with something, and they were called punched mark coins. Why was it called punched mark coins? So I can give you some information about it. Like instantly, punched mark coins. Punched mark coins are basically they were in a case that type of the early coinage of India dating between about the 6th and the 2nd century BCE. The coin that successfully is a punched marks initially only had one or two punches, with the number of punches increasing over time. Like punched mark, there were some symbols, they were made of silver of a standard weight, but it was not in a very good shape, but it was made of silver. This was gained by cutting up silver bars and making the coin the correct weight by cutting the edges of the coin. So each coin had a weight. Suppose it had a sun sign, if it had a sun sign and the same weight, so that sun sign has that weight, so sun sign is equal to that. It was like that. And it was basically made of silver. These were symbols, each of which was punched on the coin with a separate punch. And it was issued by the Mahajanapadas, including the punch mark coins. Magadha, one of the Mahajanapadas, developed the Nanda, and later the Mauryan Empire started using these coins. These are called punched mark coins. And if we don't want to go more details into it, we'll be going too much into it. It will be going off track. So there were also references of numerous trading communities and trade guilds. Trade guilds. Of trading, what they were doing, the symbols of trade, business symbols. Craftsmen also formed guilds. They were called shrenis. They were separate guilds for different crafts. They gave training to the craftsmen, bought raw material from different places and gave it to craftsmen, distributed the finished products, acted as banks, and gave grants to build temples and monasteries. Taxes from trade were very important source of revenue for the king. How did the people live? We have very little information about the life of the people. The main sources of information are stories from books, the accounts of sailors and travelers who visited different places, sculptures that show scenes from the daily life of the people, and few archaeological evidences. We have got nothing much about it. The second urbanization, towns and cities, what happened? I'll come back in the next video.